Immigrants are usually hardworking. Let's see how that thought sits with you for a second. The year was 2001, and I was in Boston chatting with different people, and I was talking to this second generation Italian American man. His parents had immigrated from, I think it was Sicily. So he'd grown up in the US. He'd had his dreams for his life. He had married his high school sweetheart, had his own company, nice house, two kids. They even had, I think, a nice house on Cape Cod or something like that. And this, we were talking about how often when people come to a country, they work really hard because they don't have the same support system or the same understanding of the systems and the people or even the same network that they would have in their own country. So in addition to doing the work of, trying to find a job and trying to find their way in the place and understanding how things work, that people tend to work harder because they don't have this background, so they need to do that to make money. It was a fantastic conversation. A few years ago, I heard the opposite. I heard people saying that immigrants are lazy. And then, of course, saying that, people come to a country and they don't want to work or they don't want to learn the language. They don't want to get involved in the system. They just want to live off the system or whatever. Some very negative thoughts about immigrants. And it made me think about stereotypes. And the stereotypes that we can have about a group of people that are different from, our group, um, that are often not based on truth or not based on real knowledge of the group of people. And the problem with stereotypes is that they're often false or they're based on insufficient knowledge. So, for example, and this is the weird thing about stereotypes and how we form them, you might meet someone from a different group, whether it's a different racial or cultural group, or they're just not from your country. And you might see some of those people doing something and something bad, whatever it is. And you decide that this whole group of people behaves like that. Now, this is part of your brain's way of protecting you, of gathering information and forming conclusions so that you don't get into trouble again if this thing caused a problem. It's like a prejudice. But what you're doing, instead of just being prejudiced against the people, we're painting this whole group of people with the same cloth, and then we spread it to others. And it becomes a stereotype. So that when the next time you meet someone from this group, you assume that this group of people, or this person, sorry, does this thing or is like that. And often they're bad things, but sometimes they're things that you probably can't really class as good or bad. It's just how you think they behave. Often not based on actual interaction with a large enough group of people, and sometimes just based on false information or false conclusions. False conclusion might be that you see, I don't know, you see an immigrant somewhere, and I'm just going to use this one because that's the one that I brought up. You see a couple of immigrants, and you see that they don't have a job during the day, and you wonder why they don't want to work. Why they're not going to work. You might hear them say something like, oh, they're not applying for jobs anymore. Or you might hear them say something like, well, the government's going to give me money. Why do I need to work? The problem is, that's maybe one or two people who've said that. And you decide that the whole group doesn't want to work. The other problem is, you don't actually know why they said that. Maybe that person has been trying for a year or two to find a job, and they're just tired. Their self-esteem is defeated. Maybe they're in a place where they have to learn a new language as an adult, and that is soul destroying, let me tell you. It takes so much of your time and energy, and they just feel like it's not going to get any better. It's not, what am I supposed to do with my life? I might as well just take the money from the government because at least that is guaranteed, and it doesn't make me feel bad like every time I'm rejected or for a job interview, or every time they don't even bother to acknowledge my application. So it's not that the person is lazy. The person is just feeling defeated, right? So it's a false conclusion. But then we have stereotypes that can be based on things that seem like truth, or they're not really bad. So I come from Barbados, and at one point we were, I believe, the country with the highest per capita intake of chicken. And so there's this, not because of Barbados, but there is a little bit of a stereotype that, people with a darker skin hue like chicken. It's not a bad thing. It is a stereotype, and it might be based on some real information. The problem is two things that stereotypes cause. The problem with them is we often form them because we're trying to find something that shows us that this people is different from who we are. We try to find a way to brand the people together with each other, and then to find a way to divide us. We're all human beings. Why are we all the time looking for ways to see someone else who might be different in some way? We're looking for some way to confirm that they're different, and maybe we should be a little bit wary of them. The other problem is that sometimes when you have a stereotype about people, you don't bother to actually learn more about them. So yes, I'm a Caribbean person of African descent, so I have darker skin. And yes, I love eating chicken. But you know what? There's so much more to who I am than the fact that I like chicken. And what tends to happen with stereotypes is it, because we've painted people with it, we kind of block out the opportunity to learn more about them. How about we try to give people the chance to show us who they are individually? Of course, you don't let every stranger into your house. That's not what I'm saying. But let people show you who they are, and take the time to get to know them, especially when it's someone who is from a group that you know very little about. Actually be curious about the people. You might be surprised, and you might actually learn to like the other. Take care. Have a great day.